Good evening and welcome. My name is Kelly Brown. I'm the IB Diploma Program Coordinator here at George Mason High School. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for bringing your students with you as well. Students, thank you for bringing your parents. My focus for this evening is to share with you some of the different options that we have for our rising 11th graders as far as the IB Diploma and the IB Courses path that we offer for students. The big question at this point, and it's a big question that students will talk about here at George Mason, is why IB? Why do we do this? Falls Church City, as most of you know this by now, has had IB since 1981. It's been here. The school board and the city council at the time brought it because they viewed it as an opportunity for our students to show academic content knowledge, rigor, to show breadth and depth, and to set themselves apart from other students. I tell students oftentimes when they come to me and it's well, should I do it? What should I do? Why should I do it? It has to be that internal desire. I can tell you all the benefits of IB, but if you don't find value in it as a student, the benefits will not exist in that realm. I tell students at the same time, you gotta find that balance with parents. Okay? As a parent, there's many things that I wish my children would do, but I also know I can force them to do it and we can all be miserable along the way, or we can work on finding that balance of this is something they have that internal desire. So we want to make sure that students are doing this for their own reasons, that they find some value, they find some motivation within that. The IB Learner Profile to me is the key to IB. You'll see various documents that are published. You'll always see that student at the center. One of the things I love, I've been an IB teacher. This is my 13th year in education. I started as an IB teacher my second year in, so I've been doing this for 11 or 12 years now. And one of the things that I've always noticed is our IB students, when they graduate and they come back and we have these conversations, they talk about knowing themselves as a whole person and as a whole learner, as opposed to, I did my academics and I succeeded. They start recognizing that there's other elements that make them a strong student. The ability to balance what's out there. The willingness, and I always tell students, I caution on this one. When we say risk taker, we mean an appropriate risk taker. We're looking for the student that wants to challenge themselves, is willing to step outside their comfort zone, okay, and take on a new role in some way, shape, or form. We want to make sure that they acknowledge others have differing ideas. How do we come to consensus? How do we have these conversations? Excuse me. And you'll see these elements coming up more and more in their classes. So we are not looking at our students just as a sole learner in the academic sense. We are looking at our diploma students as a whole student and making sure that they're growing and developing in that way. 10 reasons why IB is ideal. You have a copy of this. It's very tiny. If you would like a larger copy, please let me know and I will gladly share it with you. I circled on yours the 4 that I find as an educator to be the most valuable elements within IB. The first one is the breadth and the depth. Okay? Through especially our HL courses and our SL2 year courses, our teachers are able to delve into the subject area more than they traditionally can. Okay? They can allow students opportunities to experiment, to try different inquiry-based learning elements. They have a longer period of time with our students. Whoops, there it is. Critical thinking. More and more when I work with students, my previous experience was as an English teacher, and I want every student to know and love every piece of literature the way that I do as an English major. But I also understand the reality that not every student is going to just delve into To Kill a Mockingbird and want to analyze it and retain that information. And so one of our focal points with IB is, yes, we want you to have this content, but I want you to be able to take that content and go elsewhere with it and develop those critical analytical thinking skills so that when you're not an English teacher and you're not discussing To Kill a Mockingbird every day, you can still take information, you can read it, comprehend it, and break it down as a critical thinker. I'm going to come back to the next one. My third one is it assesses more than examination techniques. Yes, you will hear about May exams. Our students sit for them every May. Okay? They're typically essay exams. There are a few multiple choice here and there, but those are not the only assessment components within IB. Our students have the opportunity to demonstrate their knowledge through internal assessments that they'll complete in class. They have the opportunity to present their information through presentations, through oral commentaries. It looks at our students in more than a how did you do on that one particular day. Yes, there is weight to those days in May. Okay? That is where the bulk of their grade comes from, but it doesn't test how did Susie do on Tuesday, May 3rd, in this hour. It looks at that whole learning experience and allows our students to demonstrate their knowledge in multiple ways. And I saved what I deem to be the most important for last, time management. The IB Diploma is a large undertaking. It does require a lot of work from our students. They don't always realize it in the moment. But the number one thing that I have students come back after all of these years to tell me that they gained from the IB Diploma program is they learned how to manage their time. They learned how to have an academic career and have a social life. And when we get to debunking IB myths, that's the number one myth that's out there, is that if you're a diploma candidate, you can do nothing but school all day, every day, 24 hours a day for 2 entire years. It is not true. And Dorian will share with you about that momentarily, that it is not true. You do have other opportunities. But again, if you would like a larger copy of this, I'm more than happy to share one with you. The myths of IB. I want to make sure I clear these up for you from the beginning. I did not give these to you in your packet simply because I don't want to perpetuate these myths out there. The first one I've heard very frequently, you have to be in all honors courses in 9th and 10th grade in order to be successful at the IB level in 11th and 12th grade. It is not true. Our teachers in all of our courses are working to prepare our students for IB opportunities in 11th and 12th grade. So do not feel that because you did not take honors pre-calculus as a sophomore that you cannot continue in the IB math sequence. There is a place for every student in that sequence. Okay? IB diploma candidates are under time constraints and do not have time for extracurricular activities. Extracurricular is actually a requirement within IB. We have an element, a component called creativity, activity, and service. And I'll talk to you more in depth about it later on, but it's CAS. It requires our students to realize that yes, the academic knowledge is important, but you are a global citizen. You are a citizen in your community, and you need to contribute to that community. You need to partake in some sort of service learning within your community. You need to acknowledge that you're a whole person and do some physical activity. And you need to also acknowledge the creation. Please do not think that it requires arts and crafts, but it's that idea of creating and contributing to your community. So our IB students are going to be involved in extracurricular activities, and they have to be involved in those. Parents have asked me, well, can my student do IB and be a 3-sport athlete? Yes, they can. Okay, we have a number of them there, but it all goes back to that time management component. One of the things that I love about George Mason students and actually drew me here as an educator is our students are very involved. Okay, very rarely will I run into a student and I say, hey, can you stop by my office this afternoon for 20 minutes so we can have a conversation? Very rarely do I get back the, oh yeah, I've got nothing else to do this afternoon. Okay, it's usually the, well, I can squeeze you in from 3:42 until 3:59, and then I've got to go do X, Y, and Z. So our students are very involved, and our diploma candidates continue that tradition within Mason. 2 more. You have to be a super student to be in the IB program. The only students allowed in the IB program are 4.0 and higher. That is not true. Okay? The IB Diploma program is designed for a student who wants an academic challenge, is willing to push themselves, is willing to commit to something, and wants that opportunity to learn. Okay? That is really and truly the goal of the IB Diploma program. 90% of this year's seniors, okay, and this year we have, and please bear in mind, for whatever reason, numbers do stick with me. We have 178 seniors this year at George Mason. 90% of those seniors are enrolled in IB courses. Some of them may be enrolled in just one IB course. 52 of them are full IB diploma candidates. Okay, that's 25% of our student body, or of our senior student body, is participating in that full diploma. Okay, it is not designed as an exclusionary program. We want every student to take an opportunity to challenge themselves academically. Okay, so it's not narrowing down. We want only the 4.0 and higher. We want students that are willing to take that academic challenge. The last one, this is the first year I've added this bullet on here. The IB diploma is going to get me into my first choice college, and I will go on a full ride, and it will be wonderful in sunshine and happiness. I wish I could say that. I would sell the IB program to everybody if I could say that. What's going to get you into college is hard work. It's taking appropriately rigorous courses. There's no prediction. I was in a meeting today with a counselor and a student as we were looking at her course selection for next year. And she asked us, she's like, well, if I take this, will it get me into college? I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say that it will or it won't get students into college. If I could predict what college admissions officers would do, I would have a whole nother very lucrative business on the side. Colleges are looking for students to take that academic challenge. Here at George Mason, for many of our students, that academic challenge is the IB Diploma program. You'll hear people talk about the IB Diploma. It's not in place of one of our Virginia diplomas. Okay? It's in addition to our Virginia diplomas. Many of the requirements will overlap. The IB Diploma is awarded in July of 2000 and whatever year your student graduates. Okay? So this year's seniors, on July 6th, I will know if Dorian earned the IB Diploma. Okay? By that point in time, Dorian will have been accepted into the colleges that he's going to be accepted into. He will have selected the college that he's going to, and he will have graduated from George Mason. So yes, the IB Diploma is going to show to the different schools the academic rigor that you're taking on, but that diploma is not awarded until July after students have graduated. I've had situations where I have full IB diploma candidates that are not accepted at their #1 choice school. I have other situations. I had a student last year who was not a full diploma candidate. She still took rigorous courses, but she chose not to continue in her foreign language. She was accepted at UVA. It was her #1 school. It really just depends on what you offer as a whole student. Any other myths that you all have heard about IB that you'd like me to debunk for you? Okay. So, what are your choices within IB? There are 3 choices. I'm only going to speak to you about 2 of them today because the third one doesn't really apply to my particular position. Choice number 1 is the full IB Diploma Path. Choice number 2 is the IB Courses path. Choice number 3 is you don't take any of the paths. Yes, ma'am.
I just wondered if you could back up a little bit and explain a little bit better about the whole philosophy. I mean, maybe I missed some of this, but
nope.
Why IB anyway, and what is so distinctive about it?
I'm actually going to sneak ahead then real quick. Okay. So as far as the philosophy and the structure of IB is they're looking at students in that holistic element. Students pursuing the full IB diploma are required to take courses in all 6 subject areas. Okay? Those include English, foreign language, individuals and societies, which is a social studies program, science, math, and then arts or the electives. And the idea behind the IB program is providing students with a global context for what they're learning and what they're discussing, making students aware of the real world application of what they're learning, that it's not, you're not learning math because you need to check the box of, hey, I took 4 math classes in high school, I can move on, but allowing students that opportunity to really delve into the subjects, explore those subjects, and expand their knowledge that fits a more real-world application for it. IB looks more at, and you can see my little piece down here is blocking it, but there's this aspect of international mindedness and realizing that yes, we exist in Falls Church City, we operate here as a community, but our community is beyond us, okay? And this idea that we work with students on understanding the global implications, the global context of what they're learning, and how they go about learning. As far as the philosophy of the starters of IB, they really came into this idea that they wanted students to have an opportunity to explore college-style education in the confines of a high school, that we want students to start having that opportunity to academically challenge themselves while still having the support system of a high school there to make sure that we kind of scaffold that learning before we throw you off into the lecture-style classes of college, giving you some of those foundations ahead of time. Does that better answer your question?
Yeah, that helps before you start going down which path it is
Yep.
to know what the draw is.
Yep. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. So I'm going to back up real quick. So you have your 3 paths that you can choose. Diploma path, courses path, or the completely non-IB path, okay? All 3 of those are perfectly acceptable paths for each student. It's really looking at what best works for a student. The diploma path, and parents, you'll understand this when I shared this with the students when I presented in the PE classes, they all looked at me like I was crazy. The diploma path is the prefixed menu. You pick your appetizer, you pick your entree, you pick your dessert, right off the choices, okay? The courses path is a la carte. Whatever your heart desires, you can have 3 desserts if that makes you happy, or you can have 2 appetizers, or you can have 1 of each. It's really and truly up to you, okay? So the IB Diploma Path requires students to take 6 IB level courses, 1 in each of the groups: English, math, science, social studies, arts or electives, and foreign language. It requires students to complete the extended essay. It requires students to complete CAS and students to complete the Theory of Knowledge course. And I'll go more in depth as to what each of those last 3 are and what they contain. If you're a courses path student, it's a la carte. You can take any number of IB courses that you want. If you want to add on extended essay, CAS, or Theory of Knowledge, you're welcome to do the same. Okay, so you really have your choice as to what works best for you as a student. Okay? Excuse me, the one caveat that I always caution students and parents about, if you think you want to be a diploma path student, if you think you want to pursue that full IB diploma because you're ready for the academic challenge, start off on that path, okay? You can deviate, you can move over to the courses path, okay? But it is a much harder transition to go from the courses path over to the diploma path, okay? So if you think that it's something you want to try, you've had the conversation with your counselor, with your current teachers, with teachers that you may have in the future that maybe math is an area you're concerned about, and you've talked to some of the math teachers of those higher level maths, having those conversations and you say, you know what, I think I'm ready for that challenge, take the diploma path to start with. We can always make that transition over, okay? But because of the requirements within the diploma path, it's harder to go from courses into diploma. Does that make sense? Okay. So you're going to study these concurrently, okay? Concurrently is a fancy way of saying at the same time, okay? Students are going to select 3 subjects at a higher level, okay? And this is why it's easier to go from diploma to courses. You have to have 3 higher level courses as a candidate, okay? It could be any higher level courses that you choose. Those higher level courses will be 2-year courses, okay? So you'll start them in your junior year and you'll continue them in your senior year and you'll examine in May of your senior year, okay? Higher level courses must be completed in 2 years, no exceptions, no ifs, ands, or buts, okay? It has to be 2 years. And that's why that courses part is difficult. If you start on the courses path and you only take 2 HL courses, and then you want to transfer over to the diploma path, you can't because it had to be a 2-year course, okay? You'll take 3 subjects at standard level. Some of our standard level courses are 2-year courses. Some of our standard level courses are 1-year course. It depends on the course content. As I said earlier, we've had IB here for 34 years. Our teachers have been doing this for a long time, and they've learned over the years with students what can be done in a 2-year SL course and what can be done in a 1-year SL course. So we do rely on our teachers to help us with those. Okay? And then our diploma candidates are going to complete those 3 parts of the core: theory of knowledge, extended essay, and creativity, activity, and service. Okay? So the courses you have to choose from. And I will give you all a list momentarily in a different packet for you of these different courses. But just to give you an idea of what's out there, these are some of the courses we have in the different subject areas. The best place to go and find these details, students, tell me where it is. You all know this. I know your counselors talked to you about it. I was there. Yes. Program of Studies. Where do you find it? Online. If you go to the George Mason webpage and you go to academics, you will find the 2016-2017 course study, or program of studies. It will give you detailed descriptions written by the teachers of those courses, what's entailed in those courses. Okay? So for our English courses, you have 2 options. You can do literature at the higher level and language and literature at the standard level. Both of those courses are 2-year courses. Okay, so we do require our students to take either higher level or standard level for 2 full years. Language acquisition, these are also 2-year SLs. You have French, Spanish, and Mandarin. Because every rule has an exception, there are some exceptions with these 2-year SLs. When I work with students individually, I will help them determine if they fall into an exception or if they fall into that rule. Individuals and societies. This is our history section, or social studies. You have higher level history and standard level history, higher and standard level psychology, business and management, anthropology, and economics. All students graduating from the state of Virginia are required to complete economics and personal finance. IB Economics fulfills that requirement. Okay, so if a student is thinking about they are thinking about taking economics and personal finance and they want to do IB Economics, take care of both of them together. Okay, it will fulfill the requirement for both. Sciences, we have higher level biology, we have higher level and standard level physics and chemistry, standard level environmental systems and societies. This standard level is a 2-year course. And then we have higher level and standard level computer science. Mathematics. We have higher level and standard level math. Both of those are 2-year courses. And I will talk to you as we get into some of the diploma plans. I'll talk to you about how that the standard level math, because it is a new addition, how that works into things. And then we have math studies, which is a standard level 1-year course. And then we move into our arts and electives. We have higher level and standard level for all 4 arts. The standard levels are 1-year standard levels. You have music, theater, visual arts, and film studies. Or, because not every student is truly an art student, and sometimes we have other requirements that we need to meet, students do have the option to pick up a second foreign language, a second social studies, or a second science. Okay, so if you have a student who is looking to major in physics or major in a science in college, they can pick up a second science as their elective. Okay. Questions on the different course offerings, the different groups that are out there?
I didn't quite follow
Yes.
the arts and electives part.
The arts and electives student.
You don't have to take an arts and electives? Or
You have to take an arts or an elective. Okay. So you must either take music, theater, visual arts, or film studies, or you can pick up a second elective. Okay. So if you have a student who
instead of taking music, theater, visual arts, or film studies, you could take a second course in something that you're
correct. Yep, you could take a second science.
Sort of counter to the ideals of the program?
In some ways it is, in other ways it realizes that not every student had the opportunity to take an art course, but in the diploma program it's requiring students to have that extra rigor in art. So we don't want to exclude a student who, in whatever school they came from or whatever school they're going to, if they don't have that option of the arts background, they want to make sure they still have that opportunity for the diploma. It does seem counterintuitive, but they want to make sure that it's open to all. So if we have we have a student who transfers in who hasn't taken art before. If you haven't taken Art 1, putting you into IB Visual Arts, it's unfair. It's truly unfair for that student to be able to be asked to perform at a level of that rigor. And so it acknowledges that not every student is able to do that because of other circumstances. Yes, ma'am.
So for the science, basically you choose science. If you're not doing it as an elective, you choose one science.
Correct.
For the 2 years. You can't say, I'll do 1 year biology, 1 year physics. You've got to stick with one, and it's a 2-year program.
Depending on the student's situation. If you're higher level, it has to be 2 years. But I have had students where as a sophomore, they took chemistry and physics. Okay? And they choose to do SL Physics junior year and SL Physics senior year. I'm sorry, SL Chemistry senior year. So it depends on each student's individual subjects as to what they could fit into those. And I'm going to show you all in a moment some diploma plans so we can start kind of playing with those. Yes, ma'am.
And do the environmental systems and the computer science meet the Virginia state requirement for the 3rd lab science? Do all 5 of those? So you have to take 3 lab sciences. Do all 5 of those meet those criteria?
I know that computer science does not. I need to confirm with our counseling department. I am not 100% sure if environmental systems does. But before your student does pick that, and one of the things that I do always appreciate with our counselors, when a student goes to register, the counselor sits with their diploma plan for the IB diploma, if that's what they choose, and their diploma plan for the Virginia diploma to make sure that they're meeting that. I believe that ESS does, but I'm not 100% sure, so I will double check and then have your students talk to their counselors. Yes?
That would be great because I know they're doing registration right now.
Yes.
And I know my daughter is one that was put into ESS.
Yep.
And we want to be like double, triple sure
Yep.
that that actually meets the graduation requirement.
Yep, and if you all have specific questions like that, if you will do me a favor and send me an email with your student's name in it and that exact question, and I will double check with them. Yes.
If you take a 2-year course, do you have the same instructor both years?
Not necessarily. In some of our subject areas, the instructors do loop, but I also always tell students you never know who's going to win the lottery and who may decide that they're not going to come back. So we can't guarantee that they would necessarily have that same instructor. Yep, but in some cases they do. Yes, ma'am.
So I just was about the electives.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were saying, if you haven't taken art at all, what if do you have to take IB, quote unquote IB classes for if you're in the diploma for every single thing? Like could you take photography, for instance?
You
Does
could.
that count as an art?
It would not count as an art, but you could. Some of the diplomas I'll show you, students are taking non-IB courses because it fits in their schedule. It just wouldn't necessarily be one of their 6 courses for the diploma.
Okay.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
If a student starts out in the Diploma Path and decides
Mhm.
to move to the Courses Path, do they still have to stay in a 2-year course?
No.
At the end of the first year, they get credit for?
They would get credit for that first year course. Yep. And then some of them, oftentimes, they'll continue with that 2-year course because they started it and they want to finish it out, but they are not required to. Yes, ma'am.
Another graduation requirement question.
Sure.
You told me this is true, but that the IB economics, I know it meets the economic and personal finance requirement. Does it also meet the high C class requirement?
The virtual class, yes, it does.
So is there a virtual class aspect to IB economics?
Yes, there is. Yep. Yep, so it will satisfy, for those of you that don't know, all students in the state of Virginia now also have to take a virtual course. Our economics and personal finance here in Falls Church City meets the requirements of that virtual course, and so does the IB economics course for our students. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So if you took, as a freshman you took biology and then a sophomore you took chemistry, you have to take a 3rd science for the Virginia requirement, but it said on, I guess I was reading the fine print. it
Yes.
said, or the completion of the sequence for IB. So could, say you took biology and chemistry and then took 2 years HL biology, does that count for the Virginia?
If
diploma?
the student is an IB Diploma candidate. And that is where I always caution students on the switching course from the Diploma Path to the Courses Path. If you are an IB Diploma candidate, Virginia allows you to do biology, chemistry, and then 2 years of HL biology. You would not meet the 3 different types of sciences for the advanced diploma, but they acknowledge you're going above and beyond. They allow you to do that as a diploma candidate. If a student decides at the beginning of their senior year they no longer want to be a diploma candidate, and they took biology, chemistry, and then IB biology for a year, they have to pick up that 3rd science. Okay, so they would have to, but Virginia does allow for that fine print exception. Yes, ma'am.
Is that also true for HL and SL chemistry?
Yes.
Chemistry and even 2 years of SL chemistry?
You can't do 2 years of SL chemistry. It's only offered in 1 year. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
But then if you do that and you drop IB biology, would you have to, like, would you get the full credit for whatever science you go back to?
Okay, ask me that question once more.
You start with IB biology, and then you drop out of that, and then you have to take another science to recover
Your 3rd, yep.
Would you go get the full credit of that? Like if you go like end of the year or something?
You would probably in those cases have to work through high C to recover that credit, yep. Other questions? Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Really quickly, have you already, so there's the IB diploma and then the IB certificate, right?
Correct,
Have
yep.
you already said what was different? I missed the first couple minutes.
The real difference is what you choose to take. The Diploma Path, you have certain requirements that you must meet. The certificates or the courses, you can pick and choose what courses you want.
And that all starts in the junior year, right?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Yep, and with the IB courses, IB has just recently changed their terminology. It used to always be called certificate. Now they've called it courses because they want to put that focus back on the actual course that the student is taking and not on the piece of paper at the end. Just like with the IB diploma, you receive your IB courses scores at the end of your testing session of senior year. So in July of your senior year, you'll receive those courses and they send you a nice certificate that says what score you've earned in those particular courses. Some colleges will take certain courses for credit. Other colleges will take the full diploma for credit. Every college gets to pick and choose what they would like to do. I would like to tell them all what to do, and none of them seem to want to listen to me. But each college takes things in a slightly different way.
So you mean
Yes.
how AB classes are counting for college credit? You're saying some IB courses?
Correct.
Maybe, but we're not sure.
It depends on every college. Over the course of the last few years, as I've had friends of mine with students that are going to colleges as diploma candidates, I've learned more and more as to one of my best friends, her son is technically he's a second-year student at McGill University in Montreal. He was an IB diploma candidate. He started out as a sophomore there. By earning the IB diploma, they gave him an entire full year of credit. His parents did a very nice happy dance because they thought 3 years of college much cheaper than 4 years of college. And then he informed them that he really wants to stay for that 4th year to get an extra major. But they have, of course he wanted one. And so he's able to go in as a sophomore. So when I say he's a second-year student there, he's actually classified as a junior now. So he was able to kind of bypass that first year of those general ed requirements, and he delved immediately into his English and Russian double major. So, yeah. And so I encourage every student to go out to their colleges and to research what colleges you think you're going to as to how much credit you would like or how much they're willing to offer. I will tell you, I had a student this year. She is a graduate. She's a class of 2012 graduate, and she did say that I was allowed to share her story. She graduated from here in 2012. She went to Radford University. At the time, Radford did not accept any IB credit. Okay, they accepted absolutely none. She called me in November, probably about mid-November, in a panic because she was slated to graduate in December, and she was really excited to graduate in December. But somewhere along the way, she had a small calculation error. She needed 120 credits to graduate. She had 119. And in November of the semester, you cannot get that extra 1 credit. And so she contacted me to see if I could send her all of her IB scores. We got her all of the IB scores. We got her all of the syllabi and the course descriptions for those courses that she took. She took them to her advisor at Radford. They were able to find her 6 additional credits. Some of them were automatic credits that they said, you get this score in this course, you can have it. She then, because she was on a mission, decided to go to each of the department chairs. And she went to the theater department chair and she said, this is what I did in this particular course. This is the score that I earned. I think I should get credit for Theater 101. And they ended up giving her credit for Theater 101. So I tell students all the time, there's always that opportunity to advocate for yourself, to go to those colleges and say, look, this is what I've done. This is the knowledge that I've shown. Can I have this credit? The worst thing they say is, no, you didn't have the credit to begin with. The best case scenario in her particular situation, she was able to, she was able to graduate in December and go on to the job that she had already secured. So times are changing in Virginia. Less than 4 years ago, Radford didn't offer any credit. Radford is now accepting IB credit, as are most of the Virginia schools. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to mention that sometimes it's not about the credit.
Yes.
My son is at the Naval Academy this year and as a first year there.
Yep.
And they don't give any credit for anything.
Yes.
They're doesn't matter what.
Yep.
But in all of these classes, first semester, they all said, you were an IB student, weren't you?
Yep.
Because just the way it taught you to think and
Yes.
time skills and everything else. So it's not always
Mhm.
about the getting advanced credits at some schools. Sometimes it's about more than that.
It's about the learning experience for me. And I tell students all the time, again, that crystal ball, it would be great if I could predict what colleges would do for you. I can't. The only thing you can control as a student is what you put into the course and what you're able to take back out as far as the learning and the academics. You can't control what score you're going to have. You can't predict where it's going to be exactly. So I tell students, if you're doing it solely for the college credit, it's the worst decision to make. If you're doing it because you want that academic opportunity and the extra icing on the cake is that chance at college credit, then that's going to help you in the future. Yep. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Under the courses tab,
Mhm.
how many of those things are optional?
All of them.
Or could you not do the essay or the
Yep.
class, or it's okay?
Yep, you could just take the course. Yep. I had one student last year, she was my student who was accepted at UVA. She took IB Math, English, Science, Social Studies, and an elective. She did extended essay, she did CAS, and she did theory of knowledge. The only thing she didn't do for the diploma path was French. Okay. I've had another student where all he is taking is IB English. Okay, and that's what he's choosing to do. You can do any combination thereof. Okay. Because I want to make sure I get through all of this, I'm going to go through quickly what the core is. Looking back at that whole child, CAS, I talked to you briefly, is creativity, activity, and service. It's looking at making sure our students are involved in their community. For creativity, it is not arts and crafts and glitter time. I tell students that all the time because when they come to me, it's well, I'm not really artistic. It's not asking you to do arts and crafts. It's asking you to create and to contribute to your community. If you're doing debate and you're creating your debate arguments and your position papers, that counts as creativity, okay? If you're working with, say you're tutoring a first grader, we had a student this year, first grade teachers reached out to us and asked us if we could find a student to help this first grader who was just seriously struggling in the basic academics. The student is offering her services for free, so it counts under service, but she's also having to create lesson plans. She's having to create, you can't just go to a first grader and say, let's learn. You have to have some plan. You have to have some sort of element there. That's getting her creativity hours, okay? She has that planning part in there. So it is very broad in what would count for that. Activity. It's not quite as broad, but it is looking at physical activity, okay? If a student is choosing to play a varsity sport or a junior varsity sport here, that would count. For our students that are not the super athletic, I want to be on every sports team that exists. I have a student this year, I love Fitbits, they're wonderful. Okay, she's using her Fitbit and her goal, 3 times a week she needs to hit 10,000 steps. Okay, And that's what her activity is getting that physical movement in. Okay? Whether she's walking to school every day, whether she's walking her pet every evening, however she's getting those steps in, realizing that we can't just sit in a cubicle and never move. We have to have that physical outlet. Okay? And then service is your traditional service learning, working to bring your community together as a whole through service. The reason I always add in that bringing your community together, we are in the throes of presidential elections. Every time I turn on the TV, I'm reminded of that. Okay? We want our students to get involved in politics. I want my students to get involved in government elections, especially those that are about ready to vote. Okay? But the idea behind CAS is that you're bringing your community together. Okay? Working on getting people registered to vote. We have the League of Women Voters come out every year and help with voter registration. That would count as service. Okay? Picking a candidate and campaigning only for that candidate and ostracizing others who are voting for another candidate does not count as service under CAS. Okay? Working in as an electoral page would count, but it has to be something that's bringing the community together as opposed to dividing the community apart. Does that make sense? Excuse me. Yes, ma'am.
So the creativity, activity, and service, they don't have to be even connected and relate to each other. It can all be separate.
It can be separate. The students will complete what's called a CAS project where they'll integrate two of them. Okay? But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to find something that does creativity and activity and service all in one. Okay? What I often tell students is this CAS is what they're already doing. Very few of our students have to go out and find something else to add to it. They often are participating in these activities through their own choices. The big component with CAS is the reflection part. Okay, so you're going out there and you're doing it. And I'll use my student with her Fitbit as the example. The first few weeks hitting 10,000 steps was really, really difficult for her. Okay, she reflected on it. She brainstormed some different ways that she could do this. How could she get those 10,000 steps without having to stand in her bedroom and go like this every evening, which I do oftentimes to get my steps. But looking at how could she integrate more movement in her day, to now she's had to increase her 10,000 steps because she hits that usually about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so now she's had to start setting more goals. So CAS wants the students to participate in those activities, but then also reflect on how does that change you as a person. Okay, not just the checkbox of I've done it, but I've done it and this is what I've gained from it and this is what I've learned from it. Okay. The extended essay, this is the tough one. Okay, this really and truly is the tough part about the IB Diploma. It is an independent research paper. And when I say independent, there is a support system there for you. Okay. Mrs. Leganor, the librarian, and I work closely with our students through the process. Our students are assigned mentors in their particular subject area, so we are there to support them, but it does have to be self-initiated. Students pick their subject area, they select a research topic that's intriguing to them, and they do the research. They analyze, they evaluate, they synthesize their ideas, and they compose a 4,000-word research evaluation. Okay? And I'll allow Dorian to talk a little bit about his. Really and truly, it's something you have to want to try to do. For me as a teacher, I think it's a great opportunity for students to find a subject area that they're interested in and really get a chance to explore and to delve into that idea. It's a great precursor for college. I've had students come back and say they took what they did as their extended essay, excuse me, they expanded it and they turned it into parts of their thesis for undergraduate work. I've had other students, they've talked about it through their college essays. They've integrated it in different ways. What you put into the extended essay, I tell students, is what you get back out of it. If you do it because it's a checkbox and you torture all of us through the process, it doesn't have as much value. But I've had students in the past, excuse me, one of my students was looking into, she wanted to be a neonatal nurse. And so her topic was to look at neonatal care and how what they call kangaroo care or skin-to-skin contact impacted both maternal health and the baby's health and how that changed the baby. She went on to medical school and she's used it as part of her own learning experience. Okay? Students will always ask, how many pages is 4,000 words? It depends on how many pictures you have. This year, I have a student who has a 16-page paper. I also have a student who has a 52-page paper. The 52-page paper has lots of pictures. He has lots of diagrams, graphs, photos of his experiments, and different things like that. So it's not really about the pages. I will tell you, I also have not had any students this year. I have 52 of them sitting in my office. Not one of them struggled to meet what we said is the base requirement of 3,700 words. Many of them, though, I have had to point out that 4,422 is greater than 4,000, so you must cut some things out. That 4,000 is a maximum. So very rarely do I have students that come to me and are like, I'm just not going to be able to meet it. I usually have students that come to me and they're like, well, do you think like this is close enough to 4,000 words? I'm like, no, it's not. It has to be 4,000 or under. Okay? And then Theory of Knowledge is a course. It is a class that our students will take. They will take it. It's very unique. Oh, yes, ma'am. That essay, they begin it in January of their junior year, and it will be due fall of their senior year. And then for TOK, it's a very uniquely placed course. And when you look at the sample diploma plan that I gave you, it becomes very confusing to some people. It's designed as an interdisciplinary course. It's designed as the course that's going to bring together what students are doing in their other core areas and kind of synthesize that information for them. Why do I have to learn math and science and English and social studies all at the same time? How are they connected to one another? Okay? So the way we meet that without taking up 2 years of our students' course time is we have students take it junior year, second semester, and senior year, first semester. Okay? This allows students an opportunity. They can take a high C course if they want. They could take a semester elective. They could choose to take open study. However they want to fit it into their schedule, they can work that into their schedule. Okay? Any questions? I want to give Dorian a couple of minutes before I talk to you all about the diploma options that are out there. Dorian, come on up. Just to give you some background, Dorian is one of our IB Diploma candidates. He is a senior. Do you know where you're going to school yet?
No, I don't.
Okay. He's still working on that one. But he is also on our IB Student Advisory Board, so he works with me and a group of students to make sure that the decisions we're making for IB are the best decisions for our students.
So hi, I'm Dorian. Well, Ms. Brown presented me. I'm a second year IB Diploma candidate. And I think that first off, I can tell you why I chose the diploma. The main reason was not for any college credit, because in all honesty, I'm not expecting any college credit. That might come, I don't know. But the main thing is that it's interesting. The classes are very in-depth and it's very writing intensive, whereas I found that a lot of traditional courses have a lot of multiple choice questions, for example. IB is a lot of essays, and the teacher gives you more options, gives you the option to disagree with the teacher if you choose to do so. And it's much more, it allows you to go further as well. So there's like a math research paper, which you usually don't get in your traditional courses. And the teachers are very helpful. They know the IB program, and they allow you to, go beyond the course. So mainly, I took the IB program because it was challenging. I liked the challenge, and even if I don't get credit, I may be able to skip introductory courses in college, and so I can spend time on something else instead. In terms of my choices, creativity action service, the extracurriculars you're supposed to do within the context of the diploma. I really didn't have to change anything. I was part of Model UN, the Amnesty International Club, and all of that fit the requirements of CAS. And so all I had to do was really reflect on those activities, and it wasn't so much of a burden at all. And then I took on other activities as well. So in service, I'm also the student liaison to the school board, and so I'm interested in politics. and that's interesting for me, and I can use it as my service component in the IB program. And then in courses, I've picked 4 higher level courses, which I think is unusual. Usually you pick 3 higher level courses and 3 standard level courses. I picked 4 just because I couldn't choose which one I didn't want to take at the higher level. But it was all very manageable. And I would say that in terms of homework, the homework only takes up as much free time as you have. So I started the IB diploma. I wasn't doing any sports in the first 1 or 2 months. And I thought, well, that's a lot of work. And then I did track and basketball, and I could do my homework fine. So it only takes as much time as you have. And honestly, if you can manage your time, it's easy enough. I took the economics SL course that satisfied my personal finance requirement for Virginia as well. My extended essay was also in economics, and my extended essay was about, so I moved from overseas where cell phone prices were very cheap, and here they're very expensive, and I wondered why. And so I thought maybe there's like some oligopoly or something, and so I just investigated that. And I was able to interview a local economist. I think like all the parents of the students here have interesting jobs, and I was able to contact one of them. So I contacted an economist, I conducted a survey, I also looked at like secondary data from some government agencies, and I had my economics teacher advise me, and because I'd never carried out like a very scientific survey, and so he was able to tell me, well, maybe you want to get this many responses so that it's considered okay or like tolerable as a research as evidence. So it was very helpful. And all of my courses, I would also say that in the diploma itself, I found that different courses are harder or easier. It depends on how you look at it, but some courses have a reputation for being harder than others. And so for instance, I take a higher level physics, which is like considered the harder side. And then there are some like courses for some of my friends take some science courses which are like standard level or easier because they're not very much into science, but that still satisfies the requirement. And so it's not like they have to spend their whole life in science. They can still focus on other things. And also Ms. Brown was talking to you about like myths in the school, and I would debunk another one, and that's that there's like some sort of like culture of superiority for diploma candidates. There's not at all. I don't know I know some people who are diploma candidates and some who are not, but it never comes up in a conversation like, you don't know my struggles or whatever. That never comes up. So I just want to say that like, no one should feel compelled to take the IB diploma just out of peer pressure. People don't like vent too much about their work, and they don't say, you don't know my life. But so yeah, so in terms of that, peer pressure is not a good reason to get into it either. Yeah, I think I've gone over some stuff.
For Dorian? Yeah, I have one quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So you said at first you didn't think it was going to be manageable when you're doing the sports, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how did you manage the work with the away games where you don't have computer access on the bus or at the place you're going, and you're going 2 hours plus away? So how did you manage, or did you just never sleep?
The away games take quite a toll on the day, but I would say that the reason I didn't think I was going to manage was because I would call myself a procrastinator, and so I only pushed it back till the very end of the evening to do my homework. So I guess that when I did sports, it kind of forced me to do my homework ahead of time. So I was able to, I did that, and also I could find niches within the day, like during Mustang block, for example. That's, for a lot of people, that's like a social time, but sometimes if I haven't finished my homework from the night before, I can just use that time. And also the teachers are available, which is speeds up the process a bit. I think it's more of an illusion that I didn't have much time more than anything else, because I mean, I watched Netflix for, like, I binge watched shows, so it wasn't like, it wasn't too bad. I could stop watching South Park or whatever and do some homework. Yeah. Any others? Sure.
If you played a fall sport,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing college applications your senior year, and your paper is due, is that
yeah, so
is that complicated? I'm not sure if you did a fall sport.
No, I did not do a fall sport,
okay.
but
So maybe you know some people who did.
but yeah, I can speak to that. Well, I know that the extended essay, this year they're pushing it earlier so that the essay is not, so there's a rough draft before you turn in your final, and I think the rough draft is due before the summer this year. Yeah, so it makes it, so then it's just edits from there. So the paper is manageable when it comes to college app season. I mean, I would say that one thing I noticed from junior year to senior year is junior year there was more work than senior year. And my teachers were very accommodating because, for example, I had to travel for an interview, and they were accommodating, and they gave me the like some sped up work. I don't know how to put it, but like more concise. I don't know. But essentially, they're very accommodating, and the fall sports, I think that whether you do the IB diploma or not is going to take up a lot of time with respects to college apps. But I mean, yeah, I think that I'm not going to lie and say that you have all the free time in the world, but it's manageable. I found that it was manageable.
Well, it sounds like the bulk of the essay is done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's done before you even start your senior year.
Yeah.
That's what our goal is. And students like Dorian will always admit they procrastinate. And Dorian even did a survey with me of how many of them do it on time and how do we balance it. And we've worked with Ms. Leganor, and I have worked with the schedule to see how we can kind of save our students from their historical procrastination. And so some of it is just getting them to budget that time ahead of time before they do their college apps so that they have that one piece taken care of.
So you're working on your paper during the summer between your junior
You
and
have
senior?
that opportunity,
And
yes.
is there faculty?
Yep, we do what we call boot camps. And I told the students this year, I promise that my children will not be born in the middle of boot camps. We do boot camps where the students can come in. We do them in 2-day chunks. They come in for the 2 days. Ms. Leganor and I are available. Some of the teachers will be coming in and out. They have that dedicated time to work on it. Oftentimes, students tell me when they come back at the end of the summer, well, I was gonna work on it for 1 hour every day, all summer long. Yep, that's my cleaning plan in my house as well. And I know it does not happen. I can say I'm gonna do laundry for a whole hour. I can find many other things that are more exciting. And so having that 2-day dedication time has helped a number of our students that have chosen to do the boot camp.
It's July, August.
Yep, it'd be July. We usually try and do one at the end of the school year, right before everyone goes on vacation. And then we'll have one boot camp in July and then 2 boot camps in August. I'm gonna have the TV personnel change the microphone real quick so I can stop shouting at you all. I feel very rude doing that.
Do you want this back?
Yes.
On average, like if you could put an average amount of time that you would spend on homework, let's say on an evening, if you were in the IB diploma, did you notice a significant increase from people who are not in the diploma program?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more homework. The research papers, you have what are called IAs and EAs, or like assessments, projects during the year, and those take up a lot of time. And so if I were to put a number on it, I don't know, I'd say it really depends. So like tonight, I think I may have like an hour of homework. Other times I may have like 3, so it depends a lot. Depends on how you budget the time. But yeah, I'd say it's, from what I've seen, it's more work than not taking a lot more work than not taking the IB diploma. Yeah.
Okay, before I start talking about DE and some of the other things, I do want to take a minute to thank Dorian. Many of you don't know this. He actually was the one who requested to come this evening. He contacted me and said, hey, I noticed on the calendar you have this particular event there. I think it would be good if I had an opportunity to come and speak to the students and to the parents. So I do appreciate greatly. Dorian undersells himself as far as what he is involved in, especially this time of year. He is our school board liaison. He is there at the budget work sessions. He's learning all the ins and outs of exactly how this works. So he's a great example of our students that kind of undersell exactly how much time and effort they put into things. But I do want to say thank you, Dorian. I do appreciate it. Good luck with your hour of homework this evening. Okay, I had one question over here. Did I have a question? Yes, and then I'll come to yours.
Just the timing, it sounded like there was a change. The rough draft for the essay is due at the beginning of that summer?
The bulk of it, yes.
So they don't have, traditionally they've used the summer between junior and senior year to do the bulk of their work on the essay. It sounds like now they would
Yes.
use this summer coming up to do that. If they don't have time during the school year.
What they'll end up doing is we've kind of infiltrated their theory of knowledge course. For this year's juniors, what we've done is Mrs. Leganor and I go into the theory of knowledge course to work on some of those research skills and are more scaffolding that work so that they are more prepared as they come into that end of May and June timeframe. They'll have that opportunity to work. We'll have some study sessions then. They'll have the bulk of their draft done, and then they'll do kind of that finishing up of the draft over the summer. The reason we had moved to this system is we had talked to a lot of the seniors, and their struggle was the getting started. And that I know I need to sit down and I need to write my draft, and as soon as school is out, and I'm right there with them, as soon as school lets out, you want a good couple, 2, 3, 4 weeks away from academics. And then when they were trying to come back to things in July and August, getting started again was very difficult. So we're helping them get that start ahead of time, and then they'll finish up over the summer.
So will they be using time during TOK to actually research for their paper?
For some of it they will. It's not going to be the bulk of it.
They'll have to do during the school year, during junior year while they're doing all of their other classes.
Yep.
That's a big change.
It is, and it's a tough change, but what we found is while we give them that summer opportunity, and you all know better than any of us do, the summer opportunities that our students take on are immense. Like I'll have students come to me, I've been in Haiti for the last 8 weeks on a mission trip. And that's why they have, and so we're trying to help build those supports in ahead of time before we send them off on their amazing summer adventures, which please don't tell my own children about that because they don't get to have those. Before they go off on those adventures so they can work on it either while they're away or they can come to the boot camp so they have more of that support ahead of time. Yep. So, and we'll work with your students and prep them and make sure that they are ready for that change. Let me answer the dual enrollment question real quick and then I'll come right back to you.
So, you want to answer dual enrollment?
Yep.
Yeah, please do.
Dual enrollment is new for us this year. We've always offered dual enrollment courses, or we've had frequently. Dual enrollment as the general ed certificate is out there. It's another opportunity. Mr. Hills and I have worked together very closely on this year. It's really another option. It's not a better option. It's not a worse option. It's a different option for our students. It's acknowledging that our students have differing needs, and not every student wants the challenge of the IB the way it's set up. Some of them want different opportunities that are out there through a dual enrollment class. Some students want that guaranteed, I'm going to finish this course and there's going to be 3 college credits waiting. So it's just a different opportunity for them.
Are both kinds of classes weighted?
Yes, sir. Yes, dual enrollment, IB, and AP courses are all weighted 1 additional points. So an A in a dual enrollment or an IB course is worth 5 on the grade point average, where a A on the traditional GPA is going to be weighted a 4.
Does that include the SLs as well as the HLs?
Yes. Yep. All SLs, all HLs, all of it. If it says IB in front, it has that weighted credit. Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to go back to the extended essay question.
Sure.
So basically, January they're going to start thinking about this.
Mm-hmm.
4,000 word draft extended essay due before they leave school at the end of June.
Nope. We asked them to have about between 2,000 and 2,500 words of their draft before they head out for the summer.
Is that going to be due sometime after completing AP and IB
Yes.
exams and before final exams? So
Mhm.
like when are they supposed to accomplish that?
And that's what we're working on. It is a tight timeline, but we're also working on and we've had this struggle every year, and Dorian's class is a great example. We pushed it back. They had it due at the beginning of the summer. Dorian did a lovely survey. I was not happy to answer his survey. At the time, I think I had 59 diploma candidates. 9 of them had submitted their draft at the beginning of the summer, or at the beginning of the school year. So I had 50 children that I was bill collector Mrs. Brown to, and they didn't like me at that time. And so we discovered that as they put it off and they put it off and they put it off, they didn't get it done over the summer. Then they ran into college applications and they wanted some time to finish college applications. And then they ran into what they didn't expect, which were the external and internal assessments that they had built in there. And so that's the season that they're in right now, is they're submitting all of their internal and external assessments. And for the students that kept putting off and kept putting it off, they discovered that there's never really a great time to have that element in there. We're trying this plan out with this year's juniors. They know that they're guinea pigs. They know I've already tweaked and changed a couple of things. If it comes back that it's not a successful program and we need to go back to the drawing board, Ms. Leganor and I are ready to go back to that drawing board. But as we've worked with other coordinators, this seems to be the best plan that they've had, and we'll have the supports in place for them. If it works, and I'll be thrilled, and I'll be selling that idea to everybody. If it doesn't work, we'll go back to the drawing board. Yep.
So their 4,000 words are due when they come back?
I don't have the exact date, but their final draft, their completed rough draft would be due right at the beginning of the school year.
I thought you said it was due in June.
That's their partial rough draft. Yep. So, and once the students get into the extended essay, we will give you that very detailed of, these are the dates, these are the exact timelines. Yes, ma'am.
So among the 25% of the IB diploma candidates,
Yes.
how many of them, what's the percentage actually?
Thank you for asking this, because this is my favorite question this week. The question was, of my 25% of the senior class, how many actually earn that IB diploma? Last year, we had 49 students pursue the IB diploma. 45 of them earned the IB diploma at the beginning of July. I had one student who had an academic integrity infraction that made him ineligible for his diploma. I had 2 students that didn't earn enough points. Actually, I had 3 students who did not earn enough points. One of them has recently gone back and he retook one of his exams. He needed 1 point to make it. And he even admitted he did I should have tried a little harder. And I'm like, yeah, you should have tried a lot harder there, buddy. He went back and he came back from VCU in November. He sat for his Spanish exam again. And he, as of January 6th of 2016, he is now an IB diploma recipient. So we now have 46 of our 49 earned their IB diplomas. One of my other students who missed his also by 1 point, he is choosing to go back and take the May retakes. Excuse me. So hopefully we will have, at that point, 47 out of 49.
So when they come back in the class, or this person came back and made with the other students, or?
Because we don't traditionally do November exams, he came back and took it by himself. We sat in a room for an hour and a half, and he did Spanish and I did emails. But he came back and he made that choice that this was something that was important to him. He had worked so hard for 2 years, he wanted that piece of paper. He was already at VCU. He'd been accepted. He had started his classes at VCU, and he made that choice to come back. My other student is up at Rensselaer in New York. He found an IB school up there that's willing to allow him to sit in with their students so he can take the exam, because he, as he said, he's worked so hard for 2 years. That piece of paper is important to him. He wants to be able to validate what he's put into over those years. So we do have a very high pass rate. It's one of my favorite things to be able to brag about, because it shows the work of our students and it shows the work of our teachers and how successful that program is. Yes?
What is the correlation between like the class grade and the scores on the test?
Excuse me. Are you asking like the percentage grade that they get in the class?
Yeah, so if you get an A in a class, does that put you in a good position to get a, what is it, 4 or 5?
It's 7. Yep, IB comes in a 7-point scale. Traditionally, yes, it does. But there's always the caveat that what the teachers are doing in the classroom may be above and beyond. They may be having some additional assessments. So for the most part, if you're looking at an A in those courses, you are looking at a fairly high score. What the teachers will have students do are mock assessments. So in English, I know their midterm for this year, they did a mock paper 1. And the students received back their scores, and they can see on that, this is where you are on the IB rubric. You're right now in the ballpark of a 6. You might be in the ballpark of a 4. Here's what you need to do to improve yourself. So they give them that constant feedback during the year. Yes, ma'am.
Assessments
Yes.
versus tests versus what?
It's just a different word for the same thing.
It's not on top of tests.
Not necessarily. No, your students will still have some multiple choice tests. That one of the things I love about IB is they assess student learning in more than a multiple choice test, which is why I use the word assessment so often, is that they'll use essays, they'll use experiments. Math has a research exploration that they have to do. So they'll assess the student learning in more than just your multiple choice test. You're still going to have that multiple choice test because you have to know the content, but you're also going to have other ways to show it in the classroom.
That or your semester grade?
Say that again?
And then that adds up for your
Yes.
semester grade?
Yep.
So you
Your
do
IB exam grade doesn't affect your semester.
No, we don't get to. Yeah, you will have 2 separate scores. We have your semester scores that you earn in your classes. Because the IB exam scores don't come back until July after you've taken the test, I will not go back, and I'm sure Mr. Bird would never allow me to go back and be like, this kid got a 6 on their exam now that they can't have their A anymore. They're 2 separate entities. Yep.
The points on the exams that allow you to get the diploma, not the grade.
Yes. Yep, the points you earn on the exam. So my student who missed it by 1 point, you need 24 points to earn the IB Diploma, which is an average of 4s on all of your exams. He earned 23 points. And so he went back and he moved his Spanish, which was a 5, up to a 6. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a recommendation on taking some of the tests your junior year? Is that something you guys recommend to kind of simplify things senior year?
Students are only allowed to take 2 SL 1-year courses their junior year. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. One of the things that I tell parents very often, and I look forward to seeing this change in my own children one day, the shift you see between a student who's an 11th grader and the student who's a 12th grader is a dynamic shift. I know when I taught IB English, we often had the assessments in the senior year because what they developed and what they grew as a learner over that extra 6 months was exponentially seen in that assessment. So yes, some students will take one-year SL courses in their junior year. I don't necessarily recommend it as the best option because sometimes that extra year of growth, I have a great student this year who junior year, I was really nervous. I wasn't sure we were gonna make it as a diploma candidate. Senior year, I'm not at all worried. I have absolutely no stresses. Something happened in the summer. His mom and I have talked about it. We don't know what it was. But something happened over the summer and the light bulb went on. And even his teachers have talked about, well, I was thinking he was like a 3 and now I'm thinking he's a 5. And so sometimes that extra 6 months to a year really helps a student in their growth. Did you have a question?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I was wondering if you had students past who come to you as IB students from different school and then
Yes, we at George Mason have a lot of transfers. I have students, I was talking to a family earlier, we have students that will transfer in as seniors in IB diplomas from their other schools. I have parents that will transfer out various times. We work with the school that you're transferring to. I cannot guarantee what they will accept and what they will do. I work my best to make sure that they will do what I want them to do, but they don't always agree with me. But we do have students that come in and we work with our teachers. We're very flexible to make sure that if a student started that IB diploma, we give them the best opportunity and do our best to allow them to continue with that IB diploma. Yeah. Yes?
So if our students decides she wants to do the diploma,
Uh-huh.
is there any opportunity during this summer she can start working on something toward that to offload a little work?
Yep. All of the IB courses have to be completed during the school year. So you'll hear students talk about high C courses. None of the IB courses are offered as high C or hybrid class or through the summer academy courses. High C is the hybrid classroom. Those are the courses students can do online. None of the IB courses are offered in that way, but what some of our students do, they know they don't want to do economics and personal finance through IB Econ, so they might start on economics and personal finance over the summer.
So then they can't take IB, they don't need to take IB economic, then take something else.
Correct. Yep. So, and let me show you what I pulled up for you, and I don't want to keep you too much longer because I know you all do have evenings to get to. Diploma plans are something that we'll work with your students on. Every one of your students should have been shared through Google Drive the IB Diploma plan. Okay, and this is what, and it's in your packet for what it would look like. If your student has not shared that knowledge with you, please ask them when you get home about it. And if they still have no idea what you're talking about, please email me and I'll share the document straight with you. It outlines what they think they're going to do. It is not set in stone. It is a living document. It will change. That's the beauty of Google Drive, is we can change things as we go. It is shared with the parent, the student, myself as the coordinator, and your student's academic counselor. Okay, because we do need to make sure your student is meeting the Virginia requirements. I cannot graduate a student with just an IB diploma. In order to graduate from a Virginia high school, you must have a Virginia high school diploma. So we make sure students who embark on this are going to meet both requirements. And it is unique to each student. Parents will always ask me, well, what is my child going to take? And then when I ask my 15 questions to figure out what your child can take, parents are always surprised. I do not think I have, out of my 52 diploma candidates, I do not think I have 2 that are taking the exact same path. I think they are each taking their own little pathway there. So if you look in your packet, excuse me, you'll see this section. The way you determine what they're going to do junior year and senior year is you look back at what they did their freshman and sophomore year. And really the 2 areas that counts most in is their second language. If a student as a sophomore is in French 3, as a junior, they would go on to French 4, either SL or HL. Okay? If a student is in French 5, they would simply go on to French 6. Okay? What they can't do is go from French 1 to French 6. Okay? They've got to follow that natural progression of courses. Okay? The
question about that. So if we're taking Spanish 3
Yep.
in our sophomore year, well, let's say we don't want to take Spanish anymore and we want to take French next year. Can we do that?
No.
So we cannot now get that IB diploma if we've taken 3 years of Spanish and we're going to take you 2 years of French.
Correct.
So she'd have to take the 4th year of Spanish.
Correct. She would actually take year 4 and year 5 because Spanish would be a 2-year SL for her. Yep. And that is, and for my student that I gave the example of earlier that was my non-diploma candidate, that was her situation. She did not want to continue with her French. She found more value or more importance for her in a different course, and that was what pulled her out of the diploma.
Now we're just going to take the IB go to not the certificate because it's not called that anymore. But
Correct.
just taking IB
Courses, yep.
Instead of now going for the IB diploma because we don't want to take 5 years of the language.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep. Mathematics is the other one that's kind of predetermined for students. And this is where that program of studies is the most important thing for you. Math has a beautiful flow chart in there. And you find where you are right now and you just move your little cursor down to the next box or move it over to this box, however it goes. I tell every student, sit down with your current math teacher. They know your math skills. They know what the next levels of math are. They will put you in the right place. And students are always so funny, I don't know if they know it. It's the math teacher. They know math. Okay, I promise you, they're the ones that are going to be in that classroom teaching you the next level of math. They know it. Math is a little more prescriptive. A student who is in honors pre-calculus as a sophomore is eligible to move into our higher level math as a junior. Okay, a student who has not taken pre-calculus cannot move into HL math because HL math is calculus based. You need pre-calculus to take calculus. Okay, so there's different options within math. So I always tell students when you complete your diploma plan, look at your foreign language first and then your math. Everything else you kind of pick and choose where you want to put things. Okay, you make your decision about your English, higher level, standard level, which one do you want? Then you move into social studies, science, and your arts. Down here, this is a first for me this year. Because Google Drive is a living document, I had a student who took her TOK for first semester and she just moved it over here. You can't do that. It doesn't work. I put it there for a reason. The second semester of junior year and first semester of senior year, those are set in stone. You can't move those as a diploma candidate. If you are choosing to take TOK as a courses student because you know it's one of the options, same deal. It has to be second semester of junior year and first semester of senior year. And I'll show you some examples where you get to pick and choose what you want to put in those places.
So really quickly again.
Yeah.
So the math when you're graduating as a sophomore, to go into your junior year, to get this IB diploma, what math do you have to be in?
You can, excuse me, you could be in either geometry or in algebra 2 as a sophomore. And then if you're in geometry as a sophomore, you would move to algebra 2 as a junior, and you would move to what we call math studies as a senior. And so every student, and I tell parents this all the time, your kid can come to me as a freshman taking algebra 1. They are still eligible to earn an IB math credit by the time they graduate. Okay? And as far as I know, and Mr. Healy tells me all the time that math has changed since I was in high school, as far as I know, everybody's coming in as a 9th grader with at least taking algebra 1. Many of our students are coming in already in geometry or algebra 2. Okay, so there's always an option. If you're taking algebra 1 as a freshman, you cannot take HL math as a junior. Okay, but it doesn't mean you can't take an IB math course. Okay, so what I'm going to show you are some examples. And these are just examples. They are I could very well have a child who doesn't even take this example at all. Okay, so this particular student chose their SL as English. So they're taking our language and literature course. They're taking IB Spanish 4 SL because they took 3 SL as a junior. I'm sorry, 3 SL as a sophomore. They're taking IB History of the Americas because they're savvy. They know that the state of Virginia requires a U.S. history credit. So they're going to take History of the Americas, which covers U.S. history, as a junior, and then they'll take IB World History HL as a senior. Okay? They're going to take Biology HL. They're in Algebra 2 Trigonometry as a junior. So they'll be in our Math Studies as a senior. And then their elective is IB Psychology HL, and they'll take that for their 2 years. And then you can see in this particular student's case, supervised study is what they put in there. It gave them a little bit of buffer to kind of get their feet wet, get themselves ready for the diploma, figure out their balancing of things. I will give you a packet that I also shared with your students, but I printed out because I know I like it in print form. I printed it out for you that has some of these examples already in there for you. Yes, ma'am.
So the student, for example, one chose IB psychology for 2 years.
Yes.
But if you were to choose a 1-year SL course like anthropology, so that means that 12th grade you wouldn't fill that slot. I think that could be a free period.
That could be, but if you change your psychology HL to anthropology SL, you need to change either English or Spanish to HL. Okay, you always have to have a minimum of 3 HL and 3 SLs. Okay, I have oh, yes.
Where is the high C or the virtual course?
This student would have completed, and you can't see the other half of this, this student would have completed economics and personal finance either as a sophomore, so they would have gotten it that way, or they would have completed economics and personal finance through high C, maybe over the summer. Some of our students, that's what they put here. Instead of supervised study, they put economics and personal finance high C.
So the virtual course is in addition to the regular course load?
If they take, excuse me, at Mason, if you take economics and personal finance or IB Econ, which you have to have one of those to graduate, that meets your virtual course as well.
Okay, so we transferred in. My daughter given credit for that.
Okay, so then she would need to pick up, and she would want to work with her counselor on what could she pick up that would meet that virtual course. Yep. So, and we can, if you send me an email, we can work together and figure out if there's a virtual course that would fit there. Yep. Example number 2, this particular student picked HL Literature as their higher level for English. Then they moved into HL French 4, and we'll take HL French 5 as a senior. They did not want to take IB History because it just wasn't their thing. So she's going to take CP US History. You have to have a US History. I can't graduate you from the state of Virginia without one. They think it's very important, and I agree. So they're taking College Prep US History, just regular US History, and then senior year they're going to get that SL Anthropology. They're taking physics, and they know that they need that background in physics. We do have some students that will try to take physics without they will try to take IB physics without regular physics. They struggle. It's kind of like taking IB French 4 without ever taking French 1, 2, or 3. You want that foundational knowledge. And so you're going to take IB physics. That physics course doesn't count towards the diploma, but this IB physics course does. Okay? Then they're going to take SL Math 1, and then senior year they're going to take Math Wins the Award of Longest Subject Titles this year. They will be taking IB Math SL2 AP Calculus AB. What we have done to meet the needs of our students, to meet the needs of our teachers, and to meet the IB requirements, we've taken what used to be a 1-year Math SL course, and we've combined it with its pre-calculus. It will cover pre-calculus concepts, calculus concepts through AB Math, AB Calculus, as well as the other Math SL concepts that it requires: statistics, vectors, probability, variability, all of that. So students in that section for senior year, they will have a choice. They'll make this choice in November. They will decide, I want to take just the IB Math SL exam. They will decide, I am not an IB Diploma candidate. I do not want to take the IB Math SL exam. I will take only the AP exam. What I encourage them to actually make the choice of is take both exams. You're doing the curriculum and the content for both exams, take both exams. Worst case scenario, you don't do well on them. Best case scenario, you have the exam scores to show what you know and what you've learned through that course. Okay? And then this student is doing IB Visual Arts as their arts/elective. Okay? Any questions on these 2 examples? Okay, and I do have the paper copy of them. The reason I didn't give them to you is after 13 years in education, I knew if I gave you these first, no one would listen to anything else I had to say. So I made you listen to me for a moment. Yes?
I've heard a math teacher say that in 11th grade, if you were to take SL Math, that's the equivalent to pre-calc, and then your second year of SL Math is calculus? Is that?
It's not a complete equivalent. You're gonna cover some of that calculus, so it's not. Math SL1 is not exactly what our pre-calculus curriculum is. It's going to cover pre-calculus and other information as well. So it becomes a hybrid course. Yep. Yes. She asked, she had heard a rumor that Math SL1 was exactly the pre-calculus curriculum. So if you had taken pre-calculus as a sophomore and you took Math SL1 as a junior, you were sitting through the same exact math course. It is not. What I point out to students is we've really taken 3 math courses and we've blended those 3 courses. So what Mr. Healy has advised me is, I've asked him, what do I tell parents? Yes, it will cover and it will review the pre-calculus curriculum, but it is not the exact same curriculum.
What were the 3 courses in it again?
So, we put pre-calculus, IB Math SL, and AP Calculus AB.
Yeah, well, in the IB Math SL1, what 3 topics are in that?
The kids who
Wait.
are currently advanced, are they going to be able to take IB SL1 then as 10th graders?
No, and that's why we've added AP Statistics. We cannot allow students to take IB courses as sophomores. Students are only allowed to take IB Diploma program courses as juniors and seniors. So their counselors are working with them and advising them on what they would take if say they're in pre-calculus, I'm sorry, not pre-calculus, say they're in Algebra 2 as a sophomore, their counselors are working with them as to where they would go from there.
Those kids who were in Algebra 2 as 9th graders,
Mm-hmm.
what are they taking 10th grade if there's no pre-calc and they're not allowed into IBSL?
AP Statistics. Most of them are taking AP Statistics as 10th graders. Yep. So in the math, and I always advise all of you, that program of studies with the math flowchart as well as your math teachers are going to be your best advisors. Okay?
Comment
Yes.
on that. My son, and I'm not the only one, he's a sophomore in honors algebra 2 trig.
Yes.
Okay. He's had math teachers tell him that he should, to keep going on the honors math track at his point, that he should take honors pre-cal and AP calculus BC.
Yes.
I mean, he couldn't be a diploma candidate.
Correct.
So there's not like there's not a math track that meets that need. You either drop off a little bit to be a diploma candidate, or you keep going and jump into diploma. It just seems like a weird. He felt conflicted about it. That's all I'm bringing it up.
I'm going to defer this one, and I wish I had invited Mr. Healy for this evening. I'm going to have to defer this to Mr. Healy. I haven't heard that going from honors algebra 2 to the math SL was considered a drop down.
2 different math teachers told me.
Okay.
So just
And
we should. I told him maybe that's okay because you're gonna have a hard schedule.
Yep.
But
and that's something that, yep. And I will talk with Mr. Healy and get better guidance on that.
The advice, just to add to that, the advice was that you're throwing away what you've already done in honors. If you, I mean, that was the message that came across, is that you're throwing away what you've done in honors
And to take
if you
AP
dropped into this.
statistics to get the boost.
Yeah, I
Okay.
heard this earlier this evening. It's my first interaction with that conundrum. So
Yeah.
I'm going to speak with Mr. Healy tomorrow. We'll put out a message to everybody to let you know what that structure looks like. We might be inviting you back for another evening specifically to discuss that, and how we move forward with that. Okay, we've made some changes
Yes.
because we are being confronted with more students who are coming to us with Algebra 2, and we've got kids this big walking around. Where's that kid from?
Yeah.
They're coming from across the street because they're so advanced in mathematics. So we've got to have a solution for them after.
Yep.
After I like to believe I know all of our kids, at least by face, but these little guys.
Well, I was going to say, we do. One of the counselors came to me that he has a 9th grader who's already in honors pre-calculus, and that he's going to complete honors pre-calculus this year. And the counselor asked me, he goes, "What does he do next?" And I'm like, NASA. Like, yeah, 9th grade, he's in honors pre-calculus. I'm like, that was my junior year, and it was with a wing and a prayer. So yes, I will reach out to Mr. Healy, and I will ask him to share additional information on as far as math goes. Yep, and thank you for sharing that with us. And then briefly, just so that I want to make sure you guys get home to your families as well, we do have an option for students if they choose. They can do 4 HLs like Dorian did. He really could not make his choice. He struggled with it. It's an option that's out there. He understood, and I advised him very bluntly. It was probably one of our very first interactions when he came to me and he said, "I'm going to take 4 HLs." And I said, "That's fine." You understand the workload that's going to go into it and the 2-year commitment that's going to go into it. So this particular student whose scheduled I pulled, they chose their HLs in French, history, biology, and film. Okay? And then this particular student fit in their economics and personal finance into that first semester. And this actual student whose schedule I pulled, they did that in the classroom. So they did the first semester of junior year in the classroom with Mr. Deal, and then they returned to Mr. Deal for the second semester of senior year. So it is an option out there for them. Yes?
Just one more time. If you took the high C class, personal finance, if you took that first semester, like last summer, you can take the second semester now,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yep. And you can, one of the things I love about that high C option for our students, you can fit it in where you need to. It's not a situation where our students on September 8th next year have to start that course, and on January, I don't know what these days are, so I'm just making up days, January 29th, they have to finish it. They want to work a little ahead, they're more than welcome to. If they need extra time, we can accommodate that.
As far as you know, is that course going to be offered this summer?
Economics and Personal Finance through Summer Academy. Mr. Bird, are we offering Economics and Personal Finance at Summer Academy?
Yes.
Yes. I couldn't imagine Mr. Hill's not doing it, but I wanted to double check. Yep. Okay. So the next thing for students to do is not that particular one. It's in your packet, I'm sorry. I didn't change the student slide. Students need to have the conversations with their parents. Parents need to have the conversations with students. Talk to teachers. Talk to classmates who are already in those classes. I always advise them, take it with a grain of salt. Okay? Sometimes when you're grumpy, you're going to say things. Other times, you're going to, whatever their strengths are, they're going to play up those strengths. The diploma plans have been shared with students that they can start filling them in on your way out this evening. On that table back there, I'll put some over on this side and some on this side, is the printed out version of a walkthrough. It's got examples for students. It has some ideas and suggestions of how to pick which HLs you choose and which SLs you choose. If I didn't answer a question here this evening to the fullest ability or what you needed, I have 2 pieces of information up there for you. One is my direct line. You are welcome to contact me over the phone. I will happily talk to you and answer the questions if I'm in my office. If I'm not in my office, I will call you back. And then also email. You are welcome to email me at any point in time with any questions that you have, and I will get back to you quickly. I do caution you and ask your patience. We are in the middle of our IB Diploma evaluation visit from IBO right now. They were with me all day today, and they will be with me all day tomorrow. So if you send me an email this evening, I will likely not get back to you until Saturday or maybe Monday. My husband does demand that I actually pay attention to our children at some point over the next couple of days. But I will get back to you quickly. Just please allow me these next couple of days to send our IB visitors on their way. But thank you again for your time this evening. I do appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me.